To the listeners among the stars, we come not as conquerors nor as prey. We come as a question. The words hung in the dark, a whisper carried on radio waves that crossed the frozen oceans of space. For 3 centuries, humanity had looked up and wondered who might be listening. When the stars finally answered, they did not send greetings. They sent warnings. It began with a pulse, faint, rhythmic, deliberate. It struck the deep-range array above Europa's ice fields like a heartbeat. The message wasn't words at first, only a repeating pattern, but when decoded, it formed a phrase in perfect English. Do not expand further. Your mercy will be tested. Dr. Elias Mora, commander of the Celestial Listening Post, stared at the translation on his console. That's impossible, he murmured. They know our language. Beside him, communications officer Asha Liu tightened her gloves. Maybe it's a mimic. Maybe it's a reflection from one of our old probes. But Elias shook his head. No, this was directed. He turned toward the viewport, watching Jupiter's slow storm turn like an ancient eye. Someone out there knows we're here. The message spread through the colonies like a spark through dry grass. Governments panicked. The Council of Earth convened emergency sessions. And on every world, Mars, Luna, Europa, Titan, the same question echoed, who dares to warn us? Weeks passed. Then the second transmission arrived. This one was visual. A fleet, vast, metallic, and silent, hovered in the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit. They did not move closer. They simply waited. Elias was among the first to see it. Their formation. It's perfect, he said softly. Not a military pattern. Something older, ritualistic. When the signal cleared, a voice filled every channel, deep and resonant. We are the Calerion Dominion. We are the keepers of mercy. We warn so that destruction may be avoided. The message ended as abruptly as it began. Humanity's leaders gathered beneath the shining dome of New Geneva. The world watched as Admiral Leona Vance, tall, silver-haired, the living symbol of human defiance, spoke to the fleet's envoy. Her words were simple, but history would never forget them. We thank you for your mercy, she said. But humanity does not kneel. The Calerion response came hours later. Then humanity will be tested. In the silence that followed, fear grew roots in human hearts. Yet fear, as always, became fuel. Factories on Mars lit up again. Shipyards in lunar orbit sang with the birth of new vessels. Explorers, defenders, carriers of human resolve. Dr. Elias Mora recorded everything. Every pulse, every transmission, every whisper of cosmic warning. They think mercy is theirs to give, he wrote in his log. Perhaps they've forgotten mercy can also be refused. Across the stars, humanity prepared, not for conquest, but for endurance. They remembered their history. The wars survived, the worlds rebuilt, the billions lost and mourned, and they realized something profound. No other species had ever crawled from extinction as many times as they had. Asha Liu stood beside Elias one night, watching the stars shimmer above Europa's horizon. Do you think they'll attack? She asked quietly. Elias smiled faintly, his breath fogging the glass. I think they'll misunderstand us first. They'll see our kindness as weakness. They'll mistake patience for fear. And when they do, then, Elias whispered, eyes glinting like twin stars, they'll learn what happens when mercy runs dry. The third transmission came 1 month later. It wasn't a warning. It was a map, coordinates, a point far beyond Pluto where the Calerion Dominion waited. An invitation, or a challenge. Admiral Vance ordered an expedition. The first of its kind, the Dauntless Fleet, a dozen ships bearing the emblem of Earth, the rising sun across an endless sea. Elias was assigned as science liaison. Asha joined as chief communications officer. Together, they would carry humanity's answer into the dark. Before launch, Vance stood before the crew. Her voice filled every corridor. We go not to provoke, but to stand. To remind the galaxy that mercy, like strength, is earned, not demanded. Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Humanity bows to no fear. The fleet engines roared. From the frozen silence of the outer system, the human ships rose like sparks into the void. The stars watched, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy felt something it hadn't known in ages: anticipation. In the spaces between stars, truth echoes louder than sound. The Dauntless Fleet drifted through the dark beyond Pluto, engines silent except for a slow, steady hum. No one spoke much those first days. They simply stared at the endless black, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Dr. Elias Mora sat by the main viewport of the Dauntless One, recording his thoughts in a low voice. "We've passed beyond the sun's whisper," he said. "No signals, no transmissions. It's as if the galaxy itself is holding its breath." Beside him, Ashalu adjusted her comms headset, scanning for any trace of the Calerion signal. "Still nothing," she murmured. "No response, no interference. Just silence." Admiral Leona Vance stood in the center of the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back, eyes calm and unreadable. She had led humanity through battles and disasters before, but even she felt the weight of this quiet. "They wanted us to come," she said softly. "Now they make us wait. A test of patience, perhaps." Elias turned toward her. "Or of fear." Vance's lips curved faintly. "Then they've chosen the wrong species." Days passed. The stars thinned. Radiation levels spiked and fell again as if space itself trembled around them. The fleet's sensors began detecting distortions, subtle, rhythmic waves that seemed almost alive. Could be gravitational fluctuations, Elias noted, but deep down he felt something else, something old and deliberate. Then, without warning, the silence broke. A whisper filled every frequency at once. "You crossed the line of mercy." Asha gasped. "It's them!" Elias' console flared with patterns of light, foreign but strangely structured. Vance's voice cut through the chaos. "Translate." After a long moment, Asha's system finished decoding. The message appeared in glowing text across the bridge screen. "You come armed with fear. You mistake courage for defiance. You seek what you cannot comprehend." The crew waited. But then, new text began to scroll below it, this time in perfect English. "Turn back, children of ruin. The stars do not forgive." The message ended, leaving only the quiet hum of life support. Elias looked at the Admiral. "They're testing us," Vance nodded slowly. "Then we answer." She gestured toward Asha. "Open a channel." Asha's hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "Channel open, Admiral." Vance stepped forward. Her words would be the first humanity ever spoke directly to an alien power. "This is Admiral Leona Vance of the Dauntless Fleet, representing the people of Earth and her colonies. We come not to provoke but to understand. We have endured extinction, rebuilt from ash, and learned mercy through loss. Do not mistake restraint for surrender." Her voice echoed through the void. For several minutes there was nothing. Then, from the dark ahead, a shimmer appeared. At first it looked like a mirage, light bending, folding, twisting, until it resolved into shapes, vast ships, elegant and cold. Their hulls shimmered like liquid glass. The Calerion fleet had arrived. "They're beautiful," Asha whispered. Elias nodded slowly. "And ancient. Look at the hull patterning. Almost like living metal." A channel opened, unbidden. A figure appeared on the screen, tall, robed in silver, eyes like twin suns dimmed by sorrow. "I am Seraph of the Calerion Dominion," the voice said. "We warned you." "Why have you come?" Vance met the alien's gaze without flinching. "Because you spoke of mercy, and humanity knows what mercy costs. We came to see who judges it." For a heartbeat, the alien's expression flickered. Surprise, perhaps. Then calm. "You misunderstand. We are not your enemy. We are your mirror. Your wars reach beyond your world now. Your kind awakens ancient echoes, powers not meant for you." Elias stepped closer, unable to hold back. "Then teach us. Help us understand." Seraph's gaze turned toward him. "Understanding is the burden of the merciful. You are not ready to carry it." The transmission faded. For a moment, the bridge was silent again. Then Vance turned to her crew. "Record everything. We stay on course." Asha hesitated. "Admiral, what if they're right? What if there's something out here we shouldn't touch?" Vance looked out the viewport toward the shimmering shapes ahead. "Every great truth begins with a warning, Asha. Every step forward begins with fear. But we've come too far to turn back now." Elias glanced at the stars. Cold, endless, waiting. Somewhere beyond them he felt the weight of countless civilizations watching unseen. "Perhaps," he murmured, "they're not just testing us. Perhaps they're hoping we'll fail." Asha looked at him sharply. "Why would they want that?" He met her eyes. "Because mercy is easier when your enemy never rises." The fleet moved forward once more, engines whispering through the dark. The Calerions did not fire. They simply followed, silent shadows in the starlight. As humanity crossed the threshold into the unknown, every human heart carried the same thought, the same defiance, the same fragile hope. Whatever awaited them, whatever truth the galaxy feared they might find, humanity would face it together. And somewhere, far from any world, in the eternal hush between suns, the stars seemed to whisper back, "Then let the trial begin." When power meets compassion, the galaxy learns the true meaning of strength. The Dauntless Fleet advanced deeper into the dark, each ship's hull glimmering faintly beneath distant starlight. They followed the Calerion's silent formation toward a region where even light seemed reluctant to travel. The crew whispered about it in their quarters, the veil of stillness, a place uncharted and unwelcoming, where sensors failed and signals died. Dr. Elias Mora stood on the observation deck, voice low as he recorded another entry. "Every law of physics bends here," he said. "Time feels slower, distances uncertain. It's as if space itself hesitates to be measured." Asha Liu joined him, her reflection faint in the glass. "They're leading us here on purpose," she said softly. "Maybe they want us to see something." Elias nodded. "Or someone." Behind them, Admiral Leona Vance entered, her presence filling the room like a quiet storm. "Prepare for contact," she said. "The Calerions have requested parley. One ship only, Dauntless One." The rendezvous took place within a cradle of light, an artificial sphere suspended in the void. Inside it, gravity returned, sound carried again, and air shimmered like glass. Waiting there were 3 Calerions. Seraph stood among them, his expression calm but unreadable. "Welcome, children of Terra," he said. "Few are invited here. Fewer return." Vance met his gaze without flinching. "Then make this worth our trust." Seraph inclined his head. "We will show you why the Calerion Dominion guards mercy so fiercely. Follow." They walked through corridors of living metal, their walls pulsing faintly as though alive. Images shimmered along them. Ancient wars, collapsing suns, fleets burning in silence. Each vision came and went like a heartbeat. "These," Seraph said, "are echoes of our past. We were conquerors once. We burned worlds for pride. We learned too late that strength without mercy is a wound that never heals." He paused before a vast chamber. At its center floated a globe of light, swirling and immense. Inside it moved shadows, vague forms, countless and writhing. Elias stepped closer. "What is that?" "A remnant," Seraph said softly, "of what mercy failed to save. We call it the Archive of Silence. Every civilization that rose in defiance of balance is remembered here." Asha's voice trembled. "You destroyed them?" "We preserved their end," Seraph replied, "so others might learn." Vance's jaw tightened. "You call that mercy?" Seraph's golden eyes met hers. "Would you rather we had let them consume the stars?" For a long moment no one spoke. Then Elias said quietly, "You fear us, don't you?" The Calerion leader turned toward him. "We fear what you will force us to become again." The chamber dimmed. Seraph gestured and an image formed, Earth bright and fragile against the dark. "You spread quickly," he said. "Too quickly. You awaken ancient machines buried in time. You seek dominion as we once did. We do not wish to destroy you but to teach you restraint." Asha stepped forward, voice trembling with conviction. "Restraint? Humanity has known restraint through hunger, through loss, through centuries of survival. We don't seek dominion, we seek belonging." Vance's voice followed, sharp and steady. "You speak of mercy as though it were yours alone to give. But mercy is not submission. It is choice, and humanity will always choose it freely, never at command." Seraph regarded her for a long time, the light in his eyes flickering. "You speak boldly for a fragile species." "Fragile?" Vance's tone softened, but her eyes blazed. "Perhaps. But every scar we bear is a lesson learned. Every grave on every world we've built is a promise that we will never let our mistakes define us. That's our mercy." The silence that followed was vast. Then Seraph said simply, "We shall see." The humans were escorted back to their ship. As the airlock sealed behind them, Asha exhaled shakily. "Did we just survive diplomacy?" Elias smiled faintly. "Barely." Vance said nothing. She stared out the viewport toward the glowing Calerion ships, her reflection calm but fierce. "Prepare the fleet," she said at last. "Whatever test they have planned, it begins now." Elias frowned. Admiral, what if they're right? What if we truly don't understand what's waiting out here? Vance turned, her voice quiet, steady, a voice that had carried humanity through centuries of storms. Then we'll learn, the same way we always have a crumb by surviving it. Hours later, the Calerion Dominion transmitted one final message. Beyond the veil lies the Crucible of Worlds. Enter, and your species shall be judged not by words, but by what it spares. The coordinates followed. A region beyond any known map. A dead system where no star burned, Asha whispered. The Crucible of Worlds. Alias looked at her. They want to see if we'll destroy or protect. Vance closed her eyes for a brief moment, not in fear but in prayer. Then let mercy be measured by our hands. The fleet changed course. Engines flared. Humanity, fragile and unyielding, sailed once more into the dark, toward judgment, toward revelation, toward a truth that would either crown or condemn them. And somewhere in the distance, the galaxy watched in silence, holding its breath for what humanity would do next. Every war worth fighting begins not in the stars, but in the soul. The Dauntless Fleet entered the Crucible of Worlds under a sky that had forgotten light. The system was a grave, planets shattered, moons cracked like broken mirrors. There was no sun, only a faint pulsing glow that came from the largest planet's core, as though the world itself still remembered how to burn. Dr. Elias Mora stood before the main viewport, heart heavy. They call this a crucible, he whispered. Looks more like a cemetery. Asha Lu's voice came quietly from behind. Maybe that's the point. Admiral Leona Vance remained at her station, gaze unwavering. Status? Fleet's holding formation, Asha replied. No hostiles detected. But she hesitated. We're receiving something. Faint, like a distress call. Source? From the planet's surface, Elias frowned. How can anything still be alive down there? Vance turned toward him. We're going to find out. Prepare a landing team. The Dauntless One descended through clouds thick as iron dust. Lightning flashed red against a sky without stars. The surface was barren. Rivers of glass, mountains of twisted stone. Yet amid the ruin they found structures, remnants of cities, vast and eerily human in design. Elias knelt beside a fragment of wall, brushing off dust. This architecture? It's human scale. But the markings are Calerion. Asha's eyes widened. You mean they built this? He nodded slowly. Or something like them did. The distress beacon led them deeper to the heart of a collapsed spire. There, half buried in debris, they found it. A Calerion figure, broken and dim, its metallic skin dull with age. It looked up as they approached, eyes flickering weakly. Mercy. Tested, it rasped. The crucible devours what it deems unworthy. Vance crouched beside it. Who did this to you? We did, it whispered. Long ago, to prove we had learned. The being's eyes dimmed completely. Silence followed. Asha's voice trembled. They tested themselves? Elias stood slowly, the truth dawning like a storm. This wasn't a judgment for us. It was a warning. Then the ground trembled. Sensors screamed. From beneath the planet's surface, something vast began to move. Admiral, Asha shouted. Massive energy surge below us. Vance's voice was steady, command clear. Evac now. Back to the ship. But they were too late. The ground erupted, flinging shards of stone skyward. From the chasm rose a colossal construct, half machine, half memory, its form fluid and luminous, shaped by the ghosts of civilizations past. Elias stared in awe. It's unalive. A voice thundered from everywhere and nowhere at once, mercy denied. Judgment begins. The construct's light swept across the horizon. In orbit, the rest of the fleet saw it too, a pulse of energy that bent reality itself. Vance's voice cut through the comms. Dauntless Fleet, defensive pattern Omega.
No fire unless fired upon.
Asha turned to her. Admiral, it's not attacking, it's scanning us. Then let it, Vance said. Let it see who we are. For a moment, time stretched thin. The construct's light passed through every ship, every mind, every memory. Each human felt it. The weight of their species laid bare. They saw their wars, their losses, their kindness. The faces of those they'd saved and those they couldn't. Every mercy, every cruelty, all held in balance. Elias felt tears sting his eyes. It's looking inside us, Asha whispered. What will it see? Vance's voice was calm. The truth. Then, without warning, the light vanished. The construct shuddered, not in anger but confusion. You are not what was expected, it said. Mercy and wrath share the same pulse within you. Vance stepped forward, her words steady as stone. That's what makes us human. We fight so mercy can mean something. The construct hesitated, then slowly began to dissolve, its light breaking into 1,000 fragments that drifted upward like fireflies. Elias exhaled, awed. It's releasing energy, stabilizing the core. Asha smiled faintly. We passed? Vance shook her head. No. We reminded it that tests aren't the same as truth. But even as the relief settled, a shadow stirred within the fleet, not from outside but from within. On the Dauntless II, Captain Marin Yarrow, a veteran hardened by too many wars, sent a private transmission. Admiral Vance has compromised the mission, he said. The aliens play games while we kneel. We should strike now while their defenses are open. Within hours, whispers spread through the fleet. Doubt, division, fear disguised as courage. Elias could feel it, the fracture forming, invisible yet sharp as glass. When he found Vance alone on the command deck, she was staring at the holographic map of the system, silent. He said quietly, "They're questioning you." "I know," she replied. "What will you do?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fury. "I'll remind them that humanity's unity has always been tested, and that mercy, even among ourselves, has limits." In the silent expanse of the Crucible, the Dauntless Fleet hung between light and shadow, divided yet unbroken, fragile yet defiant. They had faced alien judgment. Now they would face something far more dangerous. Themselves. When unity burns, the flame that remains reveals who we truly are. The Dauntless Fleet drifted in uneasy silence above the Crucible. The alien construct had vanished into starlight, leaving behind a stillness that felt like the space between breaths. Calm, but waiting. Admiral Leona Vance stood at the center of the Dauntless One's command deck, watching the distant glow fade. The test was over, or so they thought, but whispers of dissent spread like static across the fleet. Captain Marin Yarrow's private words had found ears hungry for certainty. "We came to prove strength," his followers said, "not to be measured like children." Dr. Elias Mora could feel the tension building, quiet but deadly. He and Ashalu worked tirelessly to keep communication steady, but half the channels now carried encrypted chatter. The unity that had carried humanity across the stars was fracturing. It began with a message, unmarked, unclaimed, yet heard on every ship. "The Dominion fears us. The Admiral would have us bow. Strike now, and humanity will rise as masters of the stars." The fleet erupted into argument. Some captains sent messages of loyalty to Vance, others of warning. And in the growing divide, one truth became clear. The test had not ended. It had simply changed form. On the bridge, Elias slammed his hand against the console. "They're feeding on fear," he said. That message wasn't human. It was planted. Asha looked up sharply. "By the Calerions?" He nodded grimly. "They're still testing us, and to see if we'll turn on each other." Vance's voice cut through the tension. "Then we'll show them what humanity does when it's divided." She stood, straightening her uniform, eyes sharp as the edge of resolve. "Asha, open a fleet-wide channel." The young officer hesitated. "Admiral, if you speak now, you'll be challenging half your own captains." Vance gave a thin smile. "Then let them hear the truth from the woman they doubt." The signal carried through every ship, every cabin, every heart. "This is Admiral Leona Vance of the Dauntless Fleet," she began. Her tone was steady, her voice rich with the kind of calm that could silence storms. "We came into the dark seeking understanding. The Calerions offered us judgment and we stood unbroken. But now we face a greater test, not from them but from ourselves." She paused. Every soul aboard listened. "If any among you believe that strength is the right to destroy, you have forgotten what makes us human. Our power has never been in conquest but in compassion, in the will to build, to forgive, and to begin again." Her voice softened, but the steel beneath it remained. "The Calerions are watching. Let them see that mercy is not weakness but our greatest weapon. You want to show them humanity's strength? Then stay your fire. Stand your ground. Stand together." Silence followed, vast and heavy. Then one by one, ships began transmitting acknowledgments. The mutiny was not gone, but the storm had slowed. For a time. Hours later, as the fleet realigned, sensors blared an alarm. Multiple energy signatures. Asha cried. They're coming from... The screen lit up. 3 Calerion warships emerged from the void, their hulls gleaming like frozen lightning. Elias whispered. They're testing our reaction. Vance didn't hesitate. Hold fire. Defensive shields only. The alien ship circled, not attacking, but pressing close. Then a message filled every channel. Seraph's voice like a distant echo. You have been given the chance to prove restraint. Will you hold to mercy even when provoked? Before Vance could respond, a flash split the dark. A missile, streaking from one of humanity's own ships. The Dauntless 9 had fired. The missile struck the nearest Calerion vessel and exploded in silence, its light blooming like a small dying sun. Asha gasped. No! Seraph's voice grew cold. Mercy failed. The Calerion ships turned. Energy gathered along their spines, a low hum building into thunder. Admiral, Elias shouted. They're charging weapons. Vance's face was pale but unyielding. All hands and brace for impact. The void erupted. Beams of energy tore through the darkness, brilliant, merciless. The Dauntless 9 vanished in a blaze of light. Shockwaves rippled across the formation. Shields failing, Asha cried. We can't take another hit like that. Vance's command voice cut through the chaos. Signal them now! Asha hesitated. Signal who? The Calerions. The comms flared to life. Seraph, Vance shouted. Cease fire! That strike was not authorized. Do not judge the whole by one spark. The alien voice returned, quiet now, thoughtful. You defend those who betray you. Why? Vance's reply came without hesitation. Because that is mercy, choosing not to mirror the darkness that tests you. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the Calerion ships dimmed their weapons. The light faded. Seraph's voice came once more, softer than before. Perhaps we begin to understand. And just like that, the Calerion fleet vanished, leaving only silence and the drifting wreck of the Dauntless 9. In the aftermath, Elias stood beside Vance on the quiet bridge. The stars outside shimmered faintly as if watching. He said softly, You saved them, even the ones who turned against you. Vance's voice was tired but resolute. If humanity survives this, it won't be because we were perfect. It'll be because we refused to stop trying. Asha approached, eyes glistening. Admiral, we have incoming. Another message from the Calerions? Asha shook her head. No, from something else, deeper in the Crucible. It's human. Vance turned slowly. Play it. The speakers crackled. Then faint and distant came a voice, weary, broken, and familiar. This is Captain Marin Yarrow. If anyone hears this, I've seen it. The Crucible isn't done with us. It's waking something. The transmission ended in static. Elias and Asha exchanged a glance. Vance's eyes narrowed, her tone a whisper filled with quiet dread. Then the trial isn't over. Every test has an end, but some truths must first be survived. The Dauntless Fleet held formation in the silent dark above the shattered world. The fires from the destroyed Dauntless 9 still glowed faintly, drifting like lost stars across the void. Admiral Leona Vance stood motionless at the bridge's viewport, the faint light painting her face in shades of determination and grief. Behind her, Dr. Elias Mora studied the static-filled transmission again, rewinding the final words of Captain Yarrow. It's waking something. Asha Lu sat nearby, pale but steady. There's no trace of his ship, Admiral. Not debris, not radiation. It's as if the Crucible swallowed it whole. Vance nodded. Then we'll go after him. Elias turned sharply. Admiral, with respect, that's suicide. Whatever did this is still part of the test, she interrupted quietly. The Calerions are watching. If we abandon one of our own, we fail. The fleet descended again into the planet's storm. Lightning flared in silence, blue and gold, illuminating landscapes of ruin. As they neared the surface, Elias noticed something impossible. The ground itself moved. Admiral, he said softly, the terrain's alive. Before anyone could respond, the planet trembled. Mountains shifted, folding inward like waves. Out of the fractured surface rose enormous structures, towers made of the same liquid metal as the Calerion ships. Asha's voice trembled. Those aren't buildings. They're forming now. The structures fused together, creating a colossal shape that dwarfed everything around it. A face emerged. Not human, not alien, but something ancient woven from memory and machine. Its eyes glowed white as dawn. A voice thundered through the clouds. Mercy betrayed. Cycle incomplete, the ground split open. From the chasm, pillars of light erupted, each one swirling with images. Wars, extinction, rebirth. Entire histories danced within them. Elias whispered, "It's showing us." Every civilization that's failed. Vance stepped closer to the viewport. "Then it's time to show what survival looks like." The fleet's systems went wild. Engines disrupted, comms flooded with ghost signals. Amid the chaos, another transmission broke through, faint, human, and desperate. "Vance, this is Yarrow. I'm inside it. It's not a weapon, it's a memory. It feeds on violence. The more we fight, the stronger it becomes." Asha's eyes widened. "Admiral, if we attack, we'll only make it worse." Vance hesitated for the first time. Around her, the bridge flickered with failing lights. The ship trembled, metal groaning under pressure. Elias grabbed the rail beside her. "Leona, he's right. Mercy isn't just what we give others. It's what we deny our own rage." Vance met his eyes. "So what do you suggest?" He exhaled. "We stop fighting." Asha turned. "Stop? Elias, it's about to crush us. Not if we show it something new," he said. "Something no civilization before us dared." He tapped the console, activating the ship's main transmission array. "We'll send it everything. Every moment of mercy humanity's ever known. Every sacrifice, every act of compassion, every life saved when vengeance was easier." Vance studied him for a long moment, then gave a single nod. "Do it." Across the fleet, data burst forth in brilliant waves. Stories of human endurance and kindness streamed into the Crucible's heart. Voices of medics on dying worlds, of explorers who chose peace, of children who forgave. The storm slowed. The massive face turned, its light flickering uncertainly. The thunderous voice softened, uncertain. "Why do you show weakness?" Vance stepped forward, her voice steady and full. "Because mercy is not weakness. It's the strength to face fear without becoming it." For a moment, the Crucible was silent. Then it spoke again, quieter now, almost mournful. "You understand what we forgot." A vast pulse of light erupted from the planet's core, expanding outward in a wave of warmth and gold. The fleet's systems stabilized, the turbulence ceased, and the dark clouds began to part. Asha gasped. "Admiral." Look, above them, stars broke through the gloom, thousands of them, shining as if reborn. Elias whispered, "It's healing itself." As the light faded, a familiar figure appeared on the comm screen. Seraph, the Calerion envoy. His tone was different now, no longer distant, but humbled. "The Crucible was our creation," he said softly. "A prison for our guilt. We built it to test those who might one day replace us, and we believed none would endure without violence." Vance nodded slowly. "Then perhaps now you see what humanity endures for." Seraph's golden eyes softened. "We do. You have walked the edge of mercy and not fallen. Few ever have." He paused, as if considering the weight of his next words. "But understand this. The mercy you wield so fiercely will be feared by many. They will seek to break it, to twist it. Guard it well." Vance's voice was quiet but unwavering. "Let them come. We've stood at the edge and we're still here." When the transmission ended, silence filled the bridge. The storm was gone. The stars glowed brighter than before. Elias leaned against the console, weary but smiling faintly. "So, that's it? We passed?" Vance looked out into the expanse. "No," she said softly. "We began." Asha frowned. "Began what?" The Admiral's gaze was distant, her voice almost reverent. "Our place among the stars and the promise that mercy, once tested, will never bow again." As the fleet prepared for the long journey home, the Crucible of Worlds lay quiet once more. Not as a monument of fear, but as a beacon, shining faintly in the dark. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy whispered not warnings, but something new. Respect. We came seeking understanding. We leave behind a promise. The Dauntless Fleet drifted homeward through the calm sea of stars. Where once fear had followed them, now silence carried a strange reverence. The Crucible of Worlds shone behind them, no longer a place of judgment but a monument to endurance. Dr. Elias Mora sat by the viewport, recording his final log. His voice was softer now, weary yet filled with quiet triumph. We faced what waited beyond mercy. We were measured and we did not shatter. Perhaps the Calerions expected another empire. What they found instead was us. Across the command deck, Ashalu smiled faintly. You sound like a historian already, Elias chuckled. History is just memory with faith in it. Admiral Leona Vance stood at the center of the bridge, her reflection caught in the stars. Set course for Earth, she said. Let's bring the galaxy home with us. Days became weeks as the fleet crossed back through the solar threshold. They passed Neptune's pale arc, the glow of Saturn's rings, and finally the shining marble of Earth, blue and unbroken. When their signal reached the world below, billions watched. Cities paused, oceans stilled, and for the first time in living memory, every human looked up together. The message that followed would echo through history. Vance stood before the fleet's transmission array. Her voice projected across every frequency, every channel, every world that could listen and beyond. To all who hear this, she began, to every watcher among the stars, we are the children of a small blue world. We have been tested by fire and sorrow, by loss and mercy alike. We have seen what power can destroy and what compassion can restore. She paused, letting her words carry through the vastness. You warned us once, not to expand, not to awaken what should sleep. But understand this, humanity grows not to conquer but to connect. We build not to rule but to remember. And though we are flawed, though our mercy has been scarred by pain, it endures. The stars beyond the screen shimmered, as if listening. To the mighty among you, to the ancient and the proud, know this, we seek peace but not at the cost of our soul. We offer mercy but not without limit. Harm the innocent and you will see what kindness defends. Threaten the weak and you will learn how far compassion can strike. Her eyes gleamed like twin stars. Steady, fearless, we are humanity, and our mercy has limits. The transmission ended, and for a long, endless moment the galaxy said nothing. That silence became legend. Within days, the Calerions transmitted a single phrase to every human outpost. The test is complete. The galaxy listens now. From the outer colonies to the heart of Earth, humanity celebrated. Bells rang in the domes of Luna. The oceans of Mars shimmered with fireworks. Even the most distant miners on Titan paused to gaze at the stars and whisper thanks to those who had carried their voice into the dark. Yet amid the rejoicing, Elias found himself unable to sleep. He stood on the observation deck one last time, watching the night above Earth. Asha joined him, quiet and thoughtful. Do you think they'll come back? She asked. Elias smiled faintly. The Calerions? She nodded. Oh, they will. But maybe next time they'll come to learn, not to test. Asha leaned against the rail, her expression soft. Do you think we'll be ready? He turned to her, eyes reflecting the stars. We always are. That's what it means to be human. We never stop becoming ready. Later that night, Admiral Vance stood alone before the great window of her quarters, the blue curve of Earth beneath her. She thought of all that had been lost. Yarrow, the Nine, the ghosts of the Crucible, and all that had been gained. Elias entered quietly. The Council's asking for a name, he said. For what we found out there. Vance smiled. Tell them it was a mirror. He tilted his head. A mirror? She nodded. Every civilization builds one. Some of stone, some of stars. The Crucible showed us what we are when we forget ourselves. The Calerions called it a test. I think it was an invitation. To what? To grow. The next morning, as the Dauntless One began its descent through Earth's atmosphere, the fleet broadcast one final message. Simple, clear, and eternal. Mercy is our light. Strength is our shadow. Together they make us human. The words were carved into every monument, every data archive, every child's textbook for generations to come. And though centuries would pass, and new powers would rise among the stars, the memory of that message would remain. It would whisper through alien tongues and distant worlds as both warning and hope. Because in the cold silence of the galaxy, where power often meant cruelty and peace was rare, one truth had been written brighter than any constellation. That humanity, born of dust and dreams, had looked the mightiest in the eye and spoken not of conquest, but of choice. That they had shown the galaxy that mercy could burn as fiercely as any weapon, and that even among the stars, our mercy has limits.